Overreaction to training methods. Due to my extensive interest in sociology, the study of human trends, etc., I've spoken extensively about overreaction and underreaction, and that futurists talk about how humans overreact in the short term and underreact in the long term. And I've described how it happened in aerobics, etc., and other areas. I wrote about this extensively. I've only included one paragraph in here, but I wrote about that extensively. And then coincidentally, overreaction. And here I said, well, what we're seeing people saying no to doing any aerobics. It's gone too far. I wrote about it in 2000. And the result has been that most people have stopped doing any flexibility work whatsoever. Pareto principle. Spoke about it, wrote about it a number of times. Oh, Pareto principle. Number of times. Principles influenced by Buckminster Fuller. I've spoken how generalised principles are the principles that I prefer to apply, teach, learn, because they apply forever. They have the power to apply forever. And that was 1997 I wrote that. 7 years later, principles never change. With a bit of a smoke screen, throwing a few big names in there as the smoke screen and the word associations. Let's talk about prioritisation, which we've spoken about earlier in the video. 1998, in my strength specialisation DVD, I talk about working the priorities down and sideways. In my 1998 book, How to Write, I talked about injury prevention should be placed ahead of performance enhancement, and the prioritisation of muscle groups occurs through sequencing within the workout and within the training week. Within the workout, within the training week. And the most effective way to prioritise a muscle group is to train it early in the week or microcycle. And I said in 99, which was the year later, well, again I spoke about first in the training week, first on the training day, the ones will probably show the most improvement. Now it's common sense, now it might be very common knowledge, but no one was writing about this stuff at the time it was published. And again in 1999, first in the workout, first in the training week, the exercise to get the best results, and therefore the best effort and the best results. Enhance performance, or we can prevent injuries, or we can do both. If we're going to do both, I like to do injury prevention first. So it was 1999. Again in 2002, done first, done best. 2003, if it's a weak link, your priority, do it first. 2005, once we know what the needs of the sport, of the activity, and all the strengths and the weaknesses, etc., the program should reflect this by sequencing the weaker areas ahead of the stronger areas. And then from 2005 onwards, if it's a priority, this is another author's writings, if it's a priority, then prioritise it. That's a unique concept. 2009, whatever is done first in a workout week or a training cycle gets the greatest training effect. Another unique line. Allocate muscles, activities on a priority basis to different training days. 1 and 2 priority need to be trained first as separate days ideally, back from an earlier concept. Let's go on to segregating the roles of the physical preparation coach. In 97, I spoke about when you're responsible for running a component of an athlete's preparation, for example, physical preparation, you have reduced control of all the variables that can be measured in the cause-effect relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I spoke in my conversation with Alva Mill on this topic. And I went on to say the scenario is even worse if you control only a component of the physical preparation, for example, the strength training, and the variables are so confused no one can really tell with you. It's like going to the kitchen and throwing a lot of different foods into a pot and blending them. You can never really know what caused the end result. And guess what? Some years later, I don't like situations where I'm the strength coach and we have another speed coach nutritionist. This becomes a chop shop approach to training. Systemized like McDonald's. People don't buy McDonald's. I wrote this in 2000 because I make the best hamburgers. The standards of business are high and the clients know what they're going to get. Someone else, 9 years later, who here has ever heard of a hamburger? It's not the recipe, it's the systems. Technique is more important than loading. 1997, heretical statement. Technique is more important than loading. No one else was talking about this stuff then. Technique, 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 technique. Extensive discussion on technique. Bit of housekeeping. So if I teach you very little else, recruitment overload, technique and intervention of the loading of the first instance, and the long-term supporting ability of the athlete, the strength training will support. So I teach you very little else. That recruitment overload, technique and injury prevention, overloading is what I'm saying. We've talked a lot about technique through the video. Hopefully by now I appreciate the emphasis I put on technique. And all I want to stress again, it's not about how much you lift, it's a matter of selective recruitment. Oops, technique is king, form is king. Focus on excellent technique is paramount. Ignoring proper technique is a huge mistake. Okay. Now, the Pareto principle might not have been my principle, but this one sure as hell is. Time magnifies errors in training. It's an extension of the concept that I was brought up with, the little leopards become big leopards and big leopards kill. Time magnifies errors in training. 1998, write that. 2002, magnified over time. Power is magnified over time. 2003, any imbalances in training will be magnified over time. 2005, the training's flawed, adult training magnified it by applying to young people. Hop! 2005, another author. Over time, this flaw will be magnified. 2009, flaw will be magnified. That's 11 years after I originally wrote about it. 2009 program design seminar. Time magnifies all training errors.